Hi, I'm Mary Ellen Wiltrout,
And I'm Kaleb Abebe.
and at MIT, I work in the Department of Biology, and I'm the Director of Online and Blended Learning Initiatives. I'm also part of the Digital Learning Lab of Open Learning.
And at the Office of Open Learning, I am a senior educational technologist on the residential and OWLS team, and I support the on-campus instance of the Open edX platform.
And today we're going to talk about the Open edX integration into Canvas and how that works for MIT students and instructors.
We hope you enjoyed the presentation.
Hi everyone, I'm Mary Ellen and this is Kaleb, and unfortunately our colleague Meredith Davies, who is key in this work, could not make it, but she's represented here in what we're going to say today. So first, just go over the main points of what you should be able to do at the end of this session. So at first, we want you to relate to the multi-tool landscape that there is in higher ed right now of having multiple platforms, multiple edtech tools. We're going to describe the benefits of the Open edX integration with Canvas at MIT. And we're going to hopefully at the end of this, you'll be able to view Open edX as a potential enhancer to existing LMS systems and realize the opportunity to increase Open edX adoption by integration with existing platforms. And you'll be able to visualize what this integration process looks like because Kaleb will do a demo as well, step by step. So first, I'll describe things as an overview, but he'll go through more detail after I talk as well. So first, it's important to understand what the learning management landscape at MIT looks like. So I'll start with 2001, and MIT was using a system called Stellar. It was a homegrown system that nobody else used, so it was something that was updated by internal teams at the Institute, and adoption was widespread. It was pretty much everyone had a Stellar site. Every semester is automatically given to all instructors, all faculty. And over time, that system became harder and harder to use and became more and more outdated, harder to keep up with the modifications and updates necessary for all the tools and functions that faculty and instructors wanted and students needed for their learning. So around 2012, we had another option, which was the Open edX platform. And that was because Open edX really started at MIT first and was used at MIT and then became edX.org and Open edX as a platform shared world. So a lot of those courses that were MOOCs first were also on campus using an Open edX site. And we use the materials on campus as well. We really consider this a cycle of sharing materials with the world, using feedback from that to improve materials for MIT students and going back and forth between those two systems. So it was natural for any of us working on MOOCs to also use those materials with MIT students. And we already had a lot of assessments built, a lot of videos available, and it still didn't replace what they were doing in an MIT course, but for MIT students on campus, they could use these materials as an enhancement or some assignments, but it wasn't replacing as a fully online system. All MIT courses are still in person. Then as we got to the pandemic in 2020, Stellar was, outdated. There were conversations about a new LMS needed for campus for widespread adoption. And the pandemic hit, so it became necessary to do immediately. And somehow during the pandemic, we switched to an entire new LMS system for everyone. So Open edX was available, but it wasn't something that everyone should adopt. It was just an option. And then with Canvas coming on in 2020, then that was more of a message. Everyone should switch over to Canvas. Don't use Stellar anymore. And people that were dragging their feet eventually were forced to do it as time went on. And there were a lot of, like, because of the urgency to do it, there were a lot of support systems built of extra student help to work with faculty to say, okay, this student's going to work on your course to copy all the materials over to the new system and figure that out. So that conversion happened, and it happened pretty quickly considering how large of a project it is for converting a university to a new LMS. So in the background, we also have a lot of edtech tools. At MIT, we're not really as restricted to only use something that the university approves first. It usually comes like faculty, instructor, and possibly even student first. And then we have adoption in some courses, and then that spreads to maybe a university-wide use of tools. So some courses were, for a long time using Piazza discussion forums. Some courses were using Gradescope. I think I started around 2015 using that with some courses to grade exams because they had systems to do exam grading at large scale with scanning paper exams to a system that would do online rubric-based grading. Then we also, we're all familiar with Zoom. Poll Everywhere is a tool that can do in-class questioning and not just multiple choice, but there are a lot of other question types, word clouds, other open input. And Panopto became the system for video hosting within Canvas. And like I mentioned before, we are in this landscape where we have a lot of MOOCs. We have open online courses. We have courses that are in biology, the discipline I come from. But we have courses in engineering, physics, humanities. We have many, many courses. So if you want to learn about the courses we have, access them, mitxonline.mit.edu. But the best place to use from this point forward is learn.mit.edu. If you want to find any resources at MIT, you can access any of these at any time. And these are just an example of a few of our courses, but we have hundreds just in the MOOC space. And then we have OpenCourseWare that increases numbers into the thousands. And I think for the US audience, you're probably pretty familiar with this trend in which not only did MIT adopt Canvas, but overall most universities started adopting Canvas over the last 10 years. And I don't think this was necessarily because it was the fanciest option, the most technically advanced option. It was just other people were doing it, so other schools decided to do it too. And then it became, the dominant one in the landscape and LMS. And so now many universities in the US use Canvas. So what does that mean in practice for people who were instructors during this time? You can see that for the last two, both still exist in our landscape and our options, and that's probably not that common at many schools where we can use Open edX, we could use Canvas, but Canvas has all of our registrar linking, and although there has been a lot of work with Open edX to bring in registrar information and bring in the ability to do the grading exporting or exporting grades from the Open edX site to Canvas, it still became a chore. And probably most problematic is that it's two different sites. So all those courses since Canvas came online, we had courses for the Canvas site, and then you had to have courses with an Open edX site. And then students could log in with their same MIT login, but then it's two different places. You have to somehow get the message across to students that materials are here, or the materials here, where to find the right material. Every semester, we have to get a new Open edX site for the semester because it's a new group of students, a new enrollees. And then that meant we had to relink every assignment to the Canvas site. So if you were linking from Canvas to the MIT Open edX site, we would manually take these links and match them at the start of every semester. And that may not seem like many, but in some courses, we had 2 per lecture or class, so that's like 60 in one course to do every semester. We have to restart. So it was annoying and not the most, the greatest selling point of why you should have an Open edX site with your Canvas site. And sometimes we convince someone to just have Open edX, but then they would feel limitations to what they were comfortable doing in Canvas, and then I'd have to have special documentation from the TAs to say, here's how to do the things you're used to doing somewhere else in just the Open edX site. So that's why Open edX integration within Canvas was really the best path forward for us. That allowed us to still use all of these MOOC materials or even just Open edX materials that we didn't even share with the public yet, and allow us to use it within Canvas sites. So we have the benefits of Canvas being familiar, widely adopted, everyone's used to it, but then we can select what Open edX materials we want to use and put those there. And so the first area of benefit is just on the instructor side, just the process of really requesting your site for Open edX that you can have. Then you plan, how am I going to use materials? Ideally, these materials already exist. You're not creating a new Open edX site, but we already have a lot of materials. Then you create the URLs to use with Canvas and add the appropriate, add it to the modules section of Canvas, and then go through, and if it's graded, you can connect that to the grading and assignment section of Canvas as well. The benefit too is really the selective use. So when we would copy a MOOC and have, let's use this with MIT students, it required a lot of extra work of like, well, that's specific just to MOOC students, so we have to cut out that section, we have to hide it, or we have to change the wording here. And so there was a lot of just adjusting, hiding, moving things around to use MOOC materials with the MIT students. But in this case, we could still have all of that in the Open edX site, but then we can select just, okay, this section of course we want to use here. They'll never see the other parts that are MOOC specific. The other advantage here is that you can have one site, and that can go to multiple Canvas sites. So you can imagine something common in math or engineering, and then that concept could be shared among 10 or 20 sites. We haven't gotten to that scale of things yet, but that's possible to do.
We're only in year 2.
Yeah. Yeah, so this integration is important to say that the piloting started in 2023 with one physics course, then several biology courses started using it, and we've been doing it repeatedly, and I think you've expanded to others now. So an example of why this is necessary as well is you can see here that this is just a Canvas module outline, and it's not necessarily exactly how I would do it, but this is how one course does it, right? And there's a lot of PDFs, there's a lot of links, and then this is really the only Open edX material, but it's just one line in these modules right here. And then for this course this past semester, that would have been 8 times that sort of Open edX integration existed. And this is just showing that it's just very complicated. People want to post all this stuff in their modules section, and instead of forcing them into like this nice and neat organized Open edX format that we have, it's just let them do whatever they want, and we'll just put the Open edX stuff in some part of the course. And so in the course then, if you click on that link, you would get to the format that you're used to seeing within Open edX, and it just appears within Canvas, so they're not going to another website, they're not losing their navigation, it's just right there to work through. So they can do videos like it's shown here, and then they can do questions like shown here, and so they can work through and complete, and they will get their score, and that can report to grading if you want it to be graded. So as I mentioned, then you can reuse the same Open edX site. In this case, having to do new links all the time is very annoying. So in this case, you don't have to. You can just have one Open edX site and reuse that same link, unless you're, creating completely new material. But if it's the same material for a course like that, that is not really changing year to year. We want them to do this pre-work assignment, before they come to class, it's going to be the same type of pre-work assignment each time. It's not a high stakes, something we're going to change every year. Then we can just keep using the same material and the same link and only update it if we need to. The grades merge with other types of assignments reported. So the other issue, right, is that we have things coming from Gradescope, grades coming from Canvas possibly, grades coming from just other assignments or activities the faculty may use. So this is just going all to the Canvas gradebook, and all of those pieces can be reported to the same place and then exported at the end of the semester to decide final grades. And the Canvas sites update their registrar information frequently, so like hourly almost at this point. So then it's a lot faster and more up to date than the updates were coming in when we just had Open edX alone. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm thinking FERPA, and I understand why you would integrate it in Canvas because you can lock it down. Is OpenX FERPA compliant, or?
So in this case, there's nothing is open. So this is not the same site as the MOOC. It's open to everyone. And everything is contained within the Canvas site. No outside person is accessing the site and seeing what students are in that site. Yeah. And so just to give you an idea of what the sidebar looks like with all the other edtech tools, I mentioned earlier the tools we use. So you can see that Piazza and Panopto and Gradescope appear on that sidebar. Again, this allows us to use one course site, one login, and it's always visible. And so these are the other tools that I mentioned that enable working in this higher ed landscape that we have, where we're using many things and we want to get it down to one place to find all the course materials. And Canvas, to me, at MIT works best as just being the central hub to have all these places be under one login and be like this place to go navigate and find all these things. We don't really use in our department Canvas grading rubrics. We don't really use like questions in Canvas. We don't use it at all. It's mainly just one login, one place to find everything and navigate easily for the students. And the use then is decided by the strength of the tool and the personal preference. So maybe some people are just comfortable with using Piazza as a forum, so then just keep using it. And there may be some where Canvas is just easiest and most intuitive for people to use, so they'll use that. But if they want to, then they can get into more advanced things. And so this allows us to play into the strengths of Open edX. And specifically, there's more significant assessment capabilities at MIT. That's largely the biggest advantage for us for Open edX, is being able to do anything we can imagine in assessment and push the platform as far as we can, trying to come up with different problem types, different types of grading especially, and bringing in other tools with the LTI advantages. This allows reuse of materials, so it can try to prevent the recreation of things over and over again, the same type of material. And we already went to a lot of effort to create MOOC materials on a lot of topics, and we can just try to encourage more reuse. And this increases others using Open edX within Canvas without the school having to do a complete LMS new adoption. And so I think if you go to any institution and say, convert to this new LMS system, it's a big process, a big headache. Nobody would willingly go into that. But if you said you can use this system and then just, have it linked into your Canvas sites, then that's an easier ask. And this is a potential path even for other schools to be using MIT materials, which has been a pain point for a long time for us. But if they could take our sites and then integrate into their Canvas systems as well, then that would be easier for teachers to adopt. And this is just an idea, not something we're actually doing yet. So, all right, now the demo.
Great, thanks. And I just wanted to add a couple of content or context that courses still do use Open edX as the primary LMS on campus. We don't stop course teams from doing that. but a majority of the courses do use Canvas, and as Mary Ellen said, they were able to increase adoption of Open edX by integrating it within Canvas. So we've already sort of touched on how we allow embedding of content, able to reuse, and then the grade capturing directly from Open edX into Canvas. We'll see that sort of in action in a bit. And sort of one neat feature, I think, is that students do not need to be enrolled in Open edX, so they never have to log into our local instance of Open edX ever if they don't have to in their sort of time at MIT. If they just access it through the LTI of Canvas, they have in essence logged in. So that's again just sort of highlighting that we only need the student to log into Canvas, and then everything else kind of happens. And I also just want to sort of give a visual representation of what we touched on earlier, where we currently do have some instances of an edX course feeding into a Canvas course, but we also have a few courses where we have sort of multi-pronged approaches where folks use an edX course for multiple Canvas courses. And so for MIT's use case, so as we mentioned, this is an on-campus iteration of Open edX. So it is locked down to just MIT students, and you need an MIT single sign-on. So we recommend that the Open edX courses are instructor-paced, and this allows for more selective content, as Mary Ellen mentioned. You can do it as a self-paced. That would open up, obviously, the entire course, so it makes it a bit, I wouldn't say harder, but you don't have to think as much about which piece of content you want to hide from students. So making it instructor-paced sort of already puts you in that mindset. You want to set the course enrollment date in the past. And again, this is another sort of caveat with MIT's use case. We allow students to self-enroll into any MITx course. So all course about pages are open to students. And as you can imagine, MIT students can be a little adventurous. And so they do kind of find their way into courses they maybe should not. So by setting the course enrollment date in the past, they are not able to enroll in that course. And then, setting desired content to visible to students. And then again, with the release date of that particular content, you want that set in the past. And then this one additional caveat where Open edX will actually override a due date on Canvas, where we have some work currently with OpenCraft to hopefully resolve this. But in essence, if a student works on a piece of an assignment and the due date for it on Canvas is passed, it actually will override that. So that is obviously not something we want sort of pedagogically. So we'll hopefully get that fixed, and let's dive into. So for the demo, I will first sort of show the instructor-facing part, and then we'll look at the learner-facing, and then you're more than welcome to stop me if I'm going too fast, or if you have any questions to clarify. Let's copy this. Oh, actually, didn't think about this. Yeah, maybe I'll look here. So this is a course that we actually grabbed from Open edX. I think this is one of Fanil's courses. So we're all familiar with LMS. So I think I'll grab basic assessments part where we have, I think, a whole bunch of questions. So we'll copy this link and we'll head over to this tool. It's a very simple tool that changes the syntax of this URL to the syntax that the LTI is expecting. And we can do that for the entire subsection, or if we wanted to, we can just do a specific vertical. So for this, we'll just do the entire subsection. I'll just paste that here, convert. So now we have the URL in the correct syntax. And we'll head over to Canvas. So this is a demo Canvas course. Again, this is the instructor-facing side. We'll head over to assignments. And for this, we'll make it into a graded assignment. Great. And I think it was 12 questions, so I'll say 12 points, but you can also make it as 10, and it'll do the conversion, the point math on its own. So it'll do based out of 12, it'll adjust the grades accordingly. So actually, let's leave it at 12. And so I had copied that URL, and I'll just paste it here. I'll say save and publish. Great, so now we have the subsection here in Canvas. So now let's look at a learner, what the learner sees. So we'll move that over. And this is just a demo learner account. Let's head over to assignments. And then if we click on basic, so we should see those same questions. Great. And maybe we'll answer a couple. What? Right? Yeah, sweet. Well, maybe we'll get a few wrong too. Funny, I actually did not look at these questions ahead of time, so this is truly a live demo. Yeah. Oh wow, that was amazing. Okay, so this would be sort of the use case for the student, and then we'll do another one. We'll do another one of a non-graded. So if we get back here, let's just pick this subsection. So again, I'll copy this URL, head over here, paste it, and then convert. And then we'll copy that. And as the instructor, I want this, maybe I want this as a prerequisite to here. So I'll add a non-graded. Oops. Graded. So 0 points. We're not grading this. We'll paste this. We'll say save and publish. Great. So now we have the non-graded. And let's head over to Firefox. So we go back to assignments. Great. So now we see the non-graded array looks exactly the same, except on the back end, Canvas is not grading this particular piece of content. So if we go back and look at actually let me pause here. Any questions so far on what you've seen? Great. So yeah, we'll look at the grades. So currently there is a bit of a delay. So we time the sync every 10 minutes, I believe. Could be less, yeah, every 10 minutes. So there will be slight delay. This is actually also getting worked on, and hopefully we can speed that up and make it a bit quicker. But we would see the grade for my test student here eventually. But of course it's a live demo, so it probably won't show up until after. But we'll pretend that it's here. And then the non-graded will have, and then yeah, I think, you look at my notes, I believe that's all I wanted to touch on. Yeah, if there are other sort of specific things that people want to look at, I'd be happy to dive in more. Yeah.
Just a clarification. You said that students will sometimes get creative and try to find.
Ready?
Yeah. Okay. You said students will try to get creative and find these courses on their own. So are you typically using open courses that students can kind of get into in preview, or you are closing your courses down on the Open edX side so that they can then be reused on the Canvas side. I'm just trying to figure out how you lock down open courses so students can't preview them.
Yeah, so that's multiple answers to that question. So on the residential side, I'll just show you what that looks like for the student. But actually, maybe you can talk about that.
I think the thing, they didn't really realize this was a problem until an hour after a course became available. There's students who will find new courses that appear on the MIT system, and these are only available to MIT students. But for some reason, there's students who will enroll in anything that becomes available on the site. On Canvas, it's not how it works. Only the people who are registered officially with the registrar, they'll go into Canvas, but it's just left open on the MITx side unless, as instructors, you close enrollment. And so the default is just it's open, but most of the time I'll know to close enrollment, or I might forget a week. But then I have random students that appear in the grades that are pushed, and they're not enrolled in the class, right? So then we know to unenroll them on Open edX side. But it's just because we have just people who will just start enrolling in anything they can enroll in, unless you close enrollment. But most of the time I close enrollment, especially like these that are exams that happen one time and should only be the people I add there. But a lot of instructors don't know how to close enrollment or that it's already just open to anyone. So by default, these are kind of like they could enroll in the minute that Kaleb creates it. And then
Yeah, I would not be surprised if someone has a tool scraping this that just pops up when. So yeah, so these are the about pages of every course that's currently not necessarily active, but currently not archived, I guess is how I would phrase it. And so these are open to any MIT, really anyone actually with an MIT Kerberos account. Yeah.
And then we have MOOC sites that anyone can find from the public. And there's times where the material does cross over. But like I said before, a lot of times we're using this as assignments or something, not necessarily a high stakes exam. So it's great if they want to go do course activities before the semester starts or during the semester if they're seeing it somewhere else and finding it. Most people aren't going to be upset about that.
The tool that changes the URLs, is that just removing the Chrome from around the unit? It's like getting rid of the header and the footer and directly linking into the subsection URL?
So that's what the LTI is doing. The tool is just editing a few syntax words on the URL and pointing it to the LTI provider versus the Chrome one. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
We had a final slide.
Oh yeah, right. Yep.
How about the LTI connection? You were talking, we time the sync every 10 minutes. Is that something you can configure then, or via LTI, or? Because I'm not familiar with Canvas. We at KU Leuven in Belgium, we use Blackboard Ultra.
Okay.
But I was wondering how it works.
Yeah, so it is something I think we're looking to configure to, I think it was prudent to make it a longer delay so we don't sort of overload the sync at each instance when a student completes a particular course, or particular assignment. We don't want the activity to be too much, but I think we also discovered 10 minutes is too long.
Yeah.
So we want to find a sweet spot.
Okay, great. So, but you can configure it and the exact amount you can.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, there are students that are used to on like an Open edX website doing a question and immediately checking their progress, right? Like looking at their number and their score. And so I think then when they're doing this integration, they expect that with the Canvas gradebook, but there's actually a 10-minute delay. So occasionally then people get emails of like, where's my grade? But if they just wait 10 minutes, it will appear.
Right. Yeah, and these are all the documentation that actually I went through each one recently, and they're still valid. And we'll send these over. We'll send a slideshow, I should say, right after, so you'll have access. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're, still, I don't know if you technically count that we're out of the pilot, but we're,
I think we're out of the pilot. Yeah.
And so, but I think the important part of the pilot was that we could use it and we could say this is not working. And then Kaleb and Meredith would go back and try to figure out a solution to it. And then Kaleb was nice enough to make that converter so that this is less of a hassle to make URL links. At first there were instructions on how to change the URL, but I think there's just a good system right now of back and forth so that we can say this is a pain point or a weird thing's happening. They could go look into it and then try to figure out work to improve that feature, because sometimes something's done and then it's just version 1 and then it's people won't use it because it's not getting better, or these issues come up with MIT students and the way they do things. So we are getting through those, and I think that cycle will continue. As Kaleb mentioned, there's some things that they're still working on. And now, we're in the process of spreading the word to more people. There's a lot of other people in the Digital Learning Lab group that are interested because they easily know how to use Open edX material, have a lot of Open edX material, and can use this within the Canvas sites. And some courses have avoided, using the Open edX materials at all because it's just a hassle to have another site. So now they can just start to integrate this. And then, improving self-sufficiency so that we could just say these sites are available. You can use any of these materials if you want in your Canvas sites. Eventually get to a point where people understand they can see something they like and want to incorporate it into their course and then do it on their own, or some people who are knowledgeable of how this works. But it's not that difficult at this point that people who are not people who created the MOOCs are currently doing this integration and using materials in the Canvas sites already.
And sort of one big thing that we didn't touch on with Meredith, our colleague would have sort of dug deeper on, is sort of the analytics side of this, and how we have now a dashboard, a Tableau dashboard just for this integration that we're hoping to expand to all MITx courses that, again, allows instructors to view just one place for student analytics, and it's analogous to what is available on the instructor dashboard in Open edX. So that's something that we'd be happy to talk about. I think Meredith would be.
I'm not sure how the new content libraries work within Open edX fits into this flow, and how you're thinking about that, especially with such a long tail adoption window that you have.
That's great. So with Olmo, I believe there will be a way. So currently there isn't a way to import a course into a content library. So you have to recreate your content within the library wholesale, which is very time consuming. But I believe in Olmo, there'll be a way to export a course, import it into the library, and then sort of you have another sort of layer to this visual, right, where you'll have content library above, and then you can sort of feed into multiple edX courses, and then potentially content library directly to a Canvas course. That's, I think, more of a dream at this point, but sort of that the addition of content libraries, I feel like that would be even sort of an enhancement to this integration. And I've been playing around with the Teak version, which is good implementation, I think. I don't know if we have anyone that can speak to Olmo's. No.
Yeah, our team is working with Axim on building that out.
Nice.
So,
Thank you, everyone.